revealed how a touching encounter with a crying boy transformed a homeless woman's life forever. Sarah crouched against the cold stone of a downtown Chicago building, the busy street a blur of rushing bodies and honking horns. The chill in the air crept through her worn jacket, causing her to shiver as a familiar ache washed over her. A few blocks away, in a world that stood in stark contrast to her own, her daughter lived a life that Sarah had once shared, filled with love and laughter. But choices had pulled them apart, and with each passing day, the distance felt too immense to bridge. Then, something shifted in the air, a commotion outside a nearby bakery. Sarah's curiosity piqued. She pushed herself up and shuffled closer, her heart clenching as she spotted a small boy, no more than 10, hunched over on the cold pavement, tears streaming down his cheeks as he crumpled a slip of paper in his tiny hands. "Hey kid, what is wrong?" she asked gently, kneeling beside him. Through gasping sobs, he shared his story, revealing how his family was on the verge of eviction. Each word pierced Sarah's heart, reminding her of the days when her own decisions unjustly affected the happiness of those she loved. She reached out, wiping a tear from his cheek with her roughened fingers, and in that moment, she felt a connection she hadn't experienced in years. Two souls, bound by the weight of life as struggles. "It's gonna be okay," she said, more to herself than to him, her heart racing. "We can help you. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With newfound determination igniting within her, Sarah resolved to fight for Jesse and his family. Each day, she walked the streets, sharing his story with anyone who would listen, hopes of hope amidst the storm of indifference. Yet, as she encountered rejection, the shadows of her past whispered falsehoods that taunted her worth. "No one will listen to a homeless woman," they sneered, tightening their grip on her spirit. Just as despair threatened to swallow her whole, an unexpected wave of support emerged. Fellow homeless folks, single parents, and even local business owners, people who had once stood on the sidelines, joined her cause. Together, they planned community events, raising funds to help Jesse and his family stay in their home. As excitement grew, so did Sarah's desire to reconnect with her daughter, haunted by ghosts of missed moments. The clock was ticking, and a community gathering to help Jesse was just days away. Amidst the bustle of preparations, a question lingered in Sarah's mind: would her daughter be willing to forgive her, or would the years and pain of absence create an unbridgeable chasm? Breathless amidst the bustle and noise, Sarah stood at the precipice of change, heart pounding with hope and trepidation. Could this act of love for a boy bring her closer to her own flesh and blood? As the sun began to set, casting golden hues across the city, Sarah gathered courage, her heart a swirl of possibilities. It was the moment to reclaim family, and she was ready to fight. The day of the community gathering dawned bright and hopeful. Sarah stood in front of the makeshift banner that read "Together for Jesse." Her heart slammed against her chest as her friends helped arrange tables laden with donated goods, blankets, clothes, and hot meals. It was a moment brimming with promise, but an undercurrent of fear tugged at her. Everyone was counting on this event helping Jesse's family, but for Sarah, it carried deeper significance. She could feel her daughter's absence pressing on her like the weight of the world. Memories flickered to life, laughter shared over ice cream, silly dance-offs in the living room, the way her daughter's eyes lit up on Christmas mornings. How had those days slipped away so easily? As the crowd began to gather, Sarah recognized familiar faces, people she had often passed on the streets, now standing together in solidarity. Laughter and chatter erupted around her, warming the chilly air. A sense of camaraderie filled the space, reminding her that she wasn't alone in this fight. "Sarah!" a voice called from the crowd. It was Jesse, his face smeared with chocolate from an ice cream cone. "Look! We brought some friends." He pointed to a group of kids playing nearby, a small cluster of laughter that filled her heart with joy. "Hey there, buddy," she replied, crouching down to meet his eye level. "How is the ice cream?" "It's great. Thank you for helping my family." His smile, wide and bright, melted away some of her fears. As more people streamed in, sharing stories of kindness and support, Sarah felt the nervous energy build within her. A local musician sat up nearby, strumming his guitar and singing songs that spoke of hope and unity. The atmosphere grew electric, yet her gaze kept flickering toward the horizon, waiting to catch a glimpse of her daughter. With each passing hour, though, the anxious knots in her stomach remained. What if no one showed? What if her daughter chose to stay away, lost forever in the past? As the day unfolded with music and laughter, doubt clawed at her heart. Then, as the sun dipped low in the sky, painting everything in soft orange hues, a figure stepped timidly through the crowd. Sarah's breath caught as she squinted, hope swelling within her chest. It was her daughter. Black curls bounced with each tentative step. Her eyes, wide with uncertainty, scanned the area, searching. Was she really here to find Sarah? Or was this just a momentary curiosity? "Mom?" The voice was small but filled with a weight that echoed the years of longing, disappointment, and love. "Sweetheart?" Sarah's heart raced, a mixture of joy and fear flooding her veins. She moved through the throng of people, each step heavier than the last. Would her daughter see her as the homeless woman that she had become, or as the mother she had once cherished? As she approached, their eyes locked, a connection sparking in the space between them. Time felt suspended, the world falling away as Sarah searched for the right words to bridge the chasm of years. Her mind dizzy with emotion, she whispered, "I'm so sorry. I missed you every day." The crowd fell silent, a collective breath held in anticipation. The air crackled with tension and possibility as mother and daughter stood face to face, an ocean of unspoken words crashing around them. Would this be the moment they reunited, or would this encounter break her heart for good? As the evening sky deepened, Sarah couldn't help but wonder, could love overcome all that had come between them? Tears welled in Sarah's eyes, her heart pounding in anticipation. Would her daughter turn away, deeming the years too broken to mend? Or would she step closer, bridging the gap forged by time and pain? "Mom?" Her daughter's voice trembled slightly, uncertainty dancing in the air. The child who had been so full of giggles and light now looked fragile, as if any sudden movement could shatter the moment. Sarah longed to reach out, to pull her into an embrace that would erase the hurt, but fear anchored her. Can we talk?" her daughter asked, shifting from one foot to the other, glancing at the crowd around them. Sarah nodded, feeling a rush of relief and hope. "Yes, sweetheart." Just as she extended her hand, a small gesture of invitation. The girl hesitated but took a hesitant step forward, intertwining her fingers with her mother's. It felt electric, an unbreakable bond reforming, even amid the chaos. They sidestepped the gathering, moving toward a quieter corner under a sprawling oak tree. The musician's soft strumming faded into the background, leaving only the rustle of leaves and the beating of two hearts trying to reconnect. "I didn't think you'd ever come." Sarah's voice wobbled as she finally found words. "I wanted to find you. I looked every day. I've been scared," her daughter admitted, looking up at Sarah with wide, searching eyes. "It's hard to face you. Things have changed. What if you're still—" "Still what?" Sarah whispered, fear creeping into her voice. "Lost," she murmured, glancing down. The weight of that word hung heavily between them. Sarah felt every scar of her journey, every sleepless night, each struggle for shelter underscored by her longing to be a good mother. I know I haven't been the mother you wanted, but I'm fighting to change for you, for us. I love you more than you can imagine. A silence enveloped them, thick with emotions unsaid. Her daughter's brow crinkled, an internal battle evident on her face. Can love really fix everything? Not everything. But it can start to heal, Sarah replied, her voice steady. It's what brings us back. It's why I'm here. Her daughter's lips quivered, a hint of a smile breaking through. I missed you too, and I wanted to see you at the gathering. At that, a warmth eased into Sarah's chest, radiating through her limbs. Then here we are. She leaned in slightly, meeting her daughter's gaze with unwavering sincerity. Can we take this moment and build on it? The streetlights flickered on as shadows lengthened around them, but in that small comfort beneath the oak, time seemed to pause. I'd like that, her daughter finally said, hope igniting in her eyes. As they stood together, a flood of possibilities opened up between them. Every moment spent apart, every hesitation, packed into the space of the last few minutes, had led to this fragile reclaiming of love. But as they shared a slight smile, the distant cry of Jesse broke through. The little boy approached them, ice cream cone in hand, joy sparkling in his eyes. Look! I found another friend, he yelled, dragging a tiny girl along with him. The sight of laughter brought warmth, but also a sudden swirl of new emotions for Sarah. Joy was intermingled with the uncertainty of this rekindled connection. Did her daughter feel the same happiness? Could she welcome new friendships into this hesitant reunion? Just then, her daughter's eyes flitted back to Sarah, a question lingering just beyond the surface. Can we really get back everything we lost? It was a question that would reverberate in the air long after they parted. As Sarah pondered the answer, she felt the ground shift beneath her. The weight of possibilities seemed heavier than she'd imagined. Would they find the courage to reach for that future? The gathering was still alive with laughter beyond the oak tree, but for Sarah and her daughter, the real journey was only beginning. How could they pave their way forward together? Jesse bounded up to them, the ice cream cone wobbling dangerously in his little hands. This is my new friend Lily. Can we all play now? His wide grin was infectious, but in that moment, Sarah caught the quick flicker of her daughter's eyes, uncertainty mixed with curiosity. Lily, a small girl with bright red pigtails, tugged at Jess's sleeve, glancing nervously at Sarah and her daughter. Hi, she whispered, her voice barely rising above the sounds of laughter in the distance. Can we? Jesse pressed, bouncing excitedly, nearly dropping his treat. Sarah glanced at her daughter, who stood rigid at her side, unsure yet intrigued. What do you think? She asked gently. There was a spark in her heart at the thought of joy, of making new memories, but she was acutely aware of the tender emotions just beneath the surface. I don't know, her daughter finally admitted, eyes scanning the lively crowd. Sarah's heart sank. Come on! Don't be shy! Ice cream is super fun! Jesse urged, his enthusiasm contagious. With a deep breath, Sarah felt a slight release in the tension stretching between her and her daughter. We could start simple, she suggested. Just ice cream. It's a good beginning, right? Tentatively, her daughter nodded, and Sarah could see the wheels turning in her mind, considering the possibility. Maybe joy could interweave into their story too. Sarah led the way toward an ice cream stand, the colors of cones and sprinkles brightening the early evening. The sun was setting, casting a golden hue over everything. She felt Jesse's small hand slip into hers, pulling her forward with excitement. Behind her, she could sense her daughter following, taking careful steps, almost as if testing the waters. The little girl with pigtails held Jesse's other hand, their giggles bouncing joyfully. As they approached the stand, Sarah looked back at her daughter, watching the budding connection between her and Jessie. It reminded her of days when her girl had smiled and laughed, unburdened by worry. "What flavor do you want?" Jessie asked, turning to her daughter with bright eyes. "I like chocolate best." Her daughter hesitated, a fleeting shadow darting across her face. "I don't know what is your favorite," Sarah encouraged softly, hoping to coax her out of her shell. "It's okay to have fun. You can take all the time you need." Maybe mint?" she replied quietly. "Mint? That's cool. I'll have mint too," Jessie exclaimed, biting into his cone. The excited crunch echoed in the small space, and Sarah felt her heart lift just a little more. As ice cream was scooped, laughter bubbled up, and Sarah caught her daughter's gaze at that moment. A tiny spark ignited in her eyes, like a firefly catching the dusk. The innocence of youth, mixed with the hopefulness of a new beginning, filled the air. They found a shaded table, the oak tree offering comfort as they sat together. Every bite of the cold cream melted into sweet moments of connection. Sarah savored the ripple of her daughter's smile as she laughed at Jessie's antics, the way her laughter pealed through the air like a bell that hadn't rang in years. But even as warmth seeped into Sarah's soul, a bite of dread lingered. The question still loomed large in their hearts: could they reclaim everything that had been lost? "Mom?" Her daughter's voice cut through the laughter, a hint of seriousness creeping back in. "Yes," Sarah replied, feeling the weight of anticipation on her shoulders. Can we invite Jessie to come over sometime? Maybe he can play with us?" The request sent a tremor of surprise racing through Sarah. So much hung in the balance, but as she looked at her daughter, she felt a swell of pride. "Of course we can," she said. "That's a wonderful idea." A fleeting glance passed between them, and Sarah sensed the shift. Her daughter was tentatively stepping into the realm of hope. This was no longer just a moment of reunion. It was a foundation, a bridge toward the future. But just as happiness filled their small circle, Sarah noticed a man lingering near the ice cream stand, his gaze fixed on them. He looked trapped in a world of his own, shadows hovering at the edges of his eyes. As he edged closer, Sarah felt the air shift. What did his presence mean for this fragile renewal? Would this stranger's approach shatter the happiness they were starting to build? Would he carry another burden into their already complicated reunion? With her heart racing, she knew this moment would test everything they had begun to reshape together. The man took a hesitant step forward, his hands shoved deep into his pockets. Sarah could feel tension tightening in her chest like a vice. She wanted to shield her daughter from whatever storm was brewing in this stranger's eyes. Jessie and Lily were still laughing and unaware, lost in the sweetness of their ice cream. But for Sarah, shadows loomed. "Excuse me," the man finally said, his voice rough, like gravel mixed with sorrow. Jessie and Lily's giggles faded as they turned to look at him, curiosity lighting their faces. "Are you okay?" Sarah asked, her tone more protective than she intended. She scanned his features, wrinkles carved by troubles, eyes heavy with unshed tears. He hesitated, a flicker of vulnerability flashing across his face. I saw her smile." He pointed toward Sarah's daughter, who was turning the cone in her hands, almost entranced by its colorful sprinkles. "I remember when my little one used to smile like that." For a moment, silence blanketed the space. Sarah's heart ached in empathy. This man had a story etched in his weary expression, one that seemed far too heavy for a playdate at the park. Do you want to sit with us?" Sarah asked before she could second-guess herself. The invitation escaped her lips, unexpected yet necessary. She glanced at her daughter, her own heart racing, hoping she hadn't crossed a line. The man looked surprised, almost grateful. "Are you sure?" he asked, his voice trembling slightly. "Yeah," Sarah said firmly, her resolve bolstered by her daughter's budding confidence. "We have room." She motioned to the empty space on the bench beside them. Cautiously, the man approached, each step a silent dialogue about hope and hesitation. He sat down slowly, like he was afraid the weight of his presence might shatter the joy encased in this little bubble. "What is your name?" Jessie piped up, instantly delighted by the newcomer's quiet presence. "Daniel," he replied, a soft smile breaking through the heaviness. "Awesome. I'm Jessie, and this is Lily." The little boy gestured with glee, not sensing the shift in energy. "Hi, Daniel," Lily chimed in, her eyes filling with innocent wonder. "Hi there," Daniel replied, his expression softening. "She looks really happy." Sarah watched her daughter, noticing her a little more at ease. Perhaps it was the simple act of sharing ice cream with another person, someone who knew heartache but also the joy of connection. "Did you have a little girl?" Sarah asked gently, the question hanging in the air like a fragile thread. "Yeah," Daniel said, a hint of sadness wrapping around his words. "Her name was Emma. She was the light of my life. But she has gone now." An aching silence followed, each of them absorbing the weight of loss. Sarah could feel her daughter pick up on the heaviness, the innocence of youth wrestling against the muffled understanding of grief. "Was she fun like Lily?" her daughter asked, her voice small yet brave. "More than fun," Daniel smiled softly, wiping a stray tear from his cheek. "She taught me how to smile again after everything." In this moment, Sarah felt a rush of connection not just to Daniel but to her own daughter. The simplicity of childhood, and the way it intertwined with pain and joy felt undeniably real. Daniel paused, his voice trembling as he continued. "And you? Is this your little girl?" he asked, looking at Sarah. A lump formed in her throat. "Yes. She's been through a lot, but I want her to know happiness again." "I think she is well on her way," Daniel said, glancing at her daughter with warmth. "Sometimes, we just need a little nudge from friends even if they don't know it." As laughs bubbled back up, Jessie tugged Daniel's sleeve, pulling him into a game of "What is your favorite?" They were off in an instant, laughter ringing out again, a sound that mingled between the sweetness of ice cream and the sorrow of lost lives. But in the back of Sarah's mind, a question tormented her. What would happen when reality crashed back in? Could this chance encounter with Daniel offer a glimpse of healing for all of them, or would it pull them deeper into a well of sadness they were barely starting to escape? As the sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across their table, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of something important. Would the presence of this stranger coax out even more vulnerabilities in their own hearts, or would light break through the clouds that had shadowed them for so long? Jessie and Lily's laughter filled the air, light and carefree, punctuated by the soft chime of the park's distant carousel. Yet, Sarah felt a quiet storm brewing inside her. This encounter with Daniel was more than just a meeting. It was a ripple in the still waters of her life, a reminder of heartache and the quest for joy. "What was your favorite game to play with Emma?" Jessie asked, diving right into the heart of Daniel's memories. Sarah watched as he shifted slightly on the bench, the question pulling him back into a world she knew he cherished but also lost. "Ah, well, we love playing tag," Daniel began, his smile bittersweet. It might sound simple, but she loved running around. "I could barely keep up with her." He chuckled, a sound tinged with warmth that momentarily chased away the shadows tightening around the space. "What kind of games do you like?" He turned the question back to Jessie, and the boy's enthusiasm surged. "I like hide and seek," Jessie exclaimed, his eyes twinkling with excitement. "But sometimes I can't find Lily. She is too good at hiding." Lily giggled, her sweet voice draping the moment in innocence. Sarah felt a cocktail of emotions: grief for Daniel, pride for her children, and an undercurrent of hope. She had tried to shield them from the weight of her own sadness, yet they were weaving their own tapestry of joy, one thread at a time. As the conversation swirled around them, Daniel seemed to draw on their laughter. It was like he was basking in a warmth he hadn't felt in ages. "You know, I think that's the important thing," he said softly. "To find the joy wherever it hides, just like in hide and seek." Sarah leaned in, captivated by this man who carried a piece of her own pain. "How did you get through everything?" Her voice was barely above a whisper, her own scars surfacing in the tender question. He looked down for a moment, gathering his thoughts. "It wasn't easy. Emotionally, I had to learn to let go, but also hold on. Emma was always part of me. I'd sit on the porch for hours, remembering how she danced in the kitchen or how she laughed at my terrible jokes." A sadness flickered in his eyes, but there was a resilience beneath it, something that reflected back at her. "I've learned that those moments still matter. They remind me that love never really goes away, even when the person does." His gaze caught hers, and in that unspoken connection, Sarah felt something shift. "I want to remember," she said, her heart aching with the weight of unfulfilled promises to her daughter, to herself. "Then keep talking about her," Daniel said with a gentle urgency. "Share those stories, those memories. Don't let the laughter fade because of the pain." His words echoed deeply, resonating with Sarah in a way she never expected. Just then, Jesse tugged at Daniel's sleeve again. "Can we go play? You can be it," he cheered. Daniel chuckled, the darkness lifting for the moment. "All right, but I've got pretty fast feet." He stood up, and as Jesse took off running, Daniel joined him, a man rediscovering himself in the chase of childhood. Lily clapped her hands, and for a moment, it felt like everything was all right. Sarah watched her daughter's laughter cascade through the air, her earlier fears melting away like ice cream under the warm sun. But as she took a breath to savor the healing beauty of this moment, she felt a twinge of dread wandering back into her mind. What if she let this connection guide her only to face unspeakable loss again? Could she trust that this fleeting happiness might lead her down a path she was ready for? Just then, Daniel turned around, his joyful grin replaced by a fleeting look of contemplation. "Sarah," he called back, an edge of seriousness framing his voice. "There is something I've been wanting to tell you." The world around them faded into a hush, Sarah's heart racing, as she wondered what he was about to reveal. Would it be something that would tether them together, or unravel the fabric of this burgeoning friendship? Daniel took a moment to gather himself, his gaze heavy with the weight of unspoken words. Sarah's heart thudded in her chest. She could see the glimmer of something raw and vulnerable in his eyes, something that hinted at deeper truths waiting to emerge. "Everything you've told me about Emma," he began, his voice distant, as though he was drawing strength from the memories. "It's made me think. You know, about what truly matters." He hesitated, a flicker of uncertainty cutting through his determination. "There is something I haven't shared while we've been here." Jesse and Lily were a few paces away, engrossed in their game, their laughter echoing like music in the background. Yet, as Sarah focused on Daniel, the world around them faded. It felt like just the two of them remained. "I want to be honest with you, Sarah," he said, finally meeting her eyes again. "After Emma, I struggled. I lost sight of who I was. I didn't want to be around anyone, and I thought my heart would stay in that dark place forever." His hands fidgeted in his lap as he spoke, a physical manifestation of his internal battle. "But then I met you," he continued, his voice steadying. "When I saw you at the park, I remembered a part of myself I thought I'd lost. You and your kids, there's a light in your life that I didn't believe I could ever feel again. Your joy, even with all that you've been through, it pulls at the threads of hope in me." Sarah felt the warmth spread through her, but it was mixed with an undercurrent of fear. His words were both a balm and a heavy weight. "But?" she prompted, bracing for the uncertain turn. Daniel swallowed hard. "But I need to tell you," Sometimes it feels like I'm not ready, like I'm still fighting to hold on. He sighed, glancing down again, as if that would shield him from the vulnerability of his next words. I worry that I might bring you back to a darkness you've tried to escape from. I don't want that to happen. Silence fell between them, heavy with the weight of his honesty. Sarah's heart ached in sympathy, and she realized how similar their journeys felt. Loss had seeped into their souls, yet here they were tethered together by past pain and present possibility. But what if she started, her voice trembling slightly? What if you don't let the darkness define you? What if together we could rediscover light? There's power in connection, Daniel. Maybe we could lift each other up. He looked at her sharply, as if contemplating a choice. And what if that doesn't work? He asked softly, a note of caution in his tone. What if I fail? You won't know until you try, she replied, adrenaline rushing through her as light flickered in their shared uncertainty. You can't harbor the fear of failure without also embracing the possibilities of what could be. Just then, Jesse ran back, breathless and exhilarated, with Lily chasing after him. You should join us, he exclaimed, eyes sparkling. We're all playing together, remember? Daniel's face broke into a genuine smile, but the serious note in their exchange still lingered, unaddressed. He nodded. All right, I'll be right there. As they joined the children, laughter resumed, surrounding them like a warm blanket. But amid all the joy, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that the conversation wasn't over. It had only just begun. What lay beneath the surface of their connection remained unseen, and it whispered of complications yet to unfold. As Jesse called out excitedly to both adults, Sarah's gaze met Daniel's one last time. The shared silence held a promise, one that hinted at deeper revelations waiting on the horizon. Sarah, he said suddenly, the moment feeling charged. There is something else, something from my past, that you should know. Her anticipation soared again, electrifying her heart. What could he possibly reveal that would shift everything yet again? Would it bring them closer, or would it unravel the fragile bond formed in laughter and shared grief? The air hummed with an electric tension. Daniel's voice hung between them, like a dam awaiting a single crack to break the flood. The kids' laughter faded momentarily, the cheerful sounds of their play sharing an intimate space with the gravity of Daniel's words. Sarah's heart raced not just from the thrill of his confession, but from the undeniable urgency in his tone. Something you should know, he continued, the weight of his admission visibly weighing on him. She could see the battle lines of past hurt etched into his face. A few years before I lost Emma, I lost someone else too. My best friend, Jack. In a stupid accident that I couldn't prevent. I couldn't handle it. I fell apart. It took me down a spiral. Sarah's breath caught. The layers of his losses began peeling back like pages of a long-forgotten book. She felt him expose a vulnerable part of himself, revealing the scars that never fully healed. Daniel looked away, his gaze focused on the children, who were now tumbling over each other as they played tag. I thought I had moved past it, you know? But sometimes, the scars don't just fade. They linger. He paused, swallowing hard as memories torn from concealed places swirled in his mind. I remember the night of the accident. All I could think was how I should have stopped him from driving that night. It eats at me. A single tear betrayed him, rolling down his cheek before he could brush it away. I don't want to burden you with that. But I need you to understand I'm scared, Sarah. Scared of opening up. Scared of what I might unleash. Her heart broke a little more for him. But within that sorrow, a thread of understanding latched on tightly to something much brighter, hope. You're not alone, Daniel. You don't have to carry that alone. She hesitated, searching for the right words. I thought I was entirely on my own too, for so long. But I've learned the hard way that connection can heal. I can help you with your scars if you let me. Daniel met her gaze again, and she saw a storm of emotion shift. That's just it. What if I ruin that connection? What if I falter? I can't risk dragging you down with me. The innocence of the children's laughter filled the silence that followed. It wrapped tightly around them, offering a warmth that stood in stark contrast to the chill of their conversation. Sarah looked towards Jessie and Lily, who were now deep in a game of pretend, their faces aglow with joy. "They remind me of what it means to be free," she said softly. "Being with them, returning to that childlike hope. It's what brought me back, Daniel. We might stumble, but maybe that's part of the journey. Maybe healing can start with a shared step, even when we're both a little broken." A flicker of resistance danced in Daniel's eyes, but beneath that flicker, something else glimmered, a desperate yearning to believe that perhaps Sarah was right. Maybe they could begin anew together, even amid pain. The moment was interrupted when Lily dashed towards them, gripping an old paintbrush she had found in the grass. "Look! We can paint a picture. Come on, Daniel. You too, Sarah." Her excitement seemed like an invitation to forget. Sarah smiled at the pure joy radiating from the children. "See? They already believe in us," she whispered to Daniel. "Let us not be afraid, okay? Let us at least try." He took a breath, feeling the weight of her words settle around him, settling over his anxious heart like a promise. "All right," he murmured, barely above a whisper. But as they started to walk towards the kids, an uneasy feeling washed over Sarah. Could she really pull him into the light when they stood on the brink of shadows? And what about her own struggles, her own scars? Would she hold back if darkness threatened her joy? "Sarah?" Daniel's voice broke through her spiraling thoughts. "Are you sure we can do this together?" As she looked into his eyes, she felt the swell of uncertainty and hope collide, a stark reminder of her past that never really seemed to leave. "We can," she declared. "But we have to promise to talk no hiding. No more secrets." Behind them, Jessie's laughter broke through again, lifting the weight of their shared moment. But Sarah felt the questions rise in her chest, an anticipatory swell leaving her wanting more. Daniel nodded slowly, the spark of resolution igniting amidst uncertainty. As they approached the children, he turned to Sarah. "I might need you more than you know." And as they joined in the game, Sarah held onto hope tightly, ready for whatever revelations the future held. What would they uncover about themselves along the way? Would this connection truly be a bridge to healing, or would it unravel in ways none of them could foresee? Lily led the way, her tiny feet dancing across the grass, and the joy she exuded was contagious. Sarah felt a smile creeping onto her face as she and Daniel followed, the weight of their earlier conversation slowly dissipating. Jessie jumped up, his playful spirit spilling over. "Hurry up. We have to paint the biggest rainbow ever." Okay. Sarah laughed, her heart now lighter. As she watched them gather sticks and leaves to use as brushes, she felt a glow inside, reminding her of simpler times. Daniel, however, seemed to linger behind, his eyes flickering to the children only occasionally. The shadows of his past still loomed large, but Sarah refused to let them tether him. She stepped closer to him. "You're doing great. Just being here, it's already a big step." He managed a small smile, but it didn't quite reach his eyes. "I just don't know if I'm enough. For them. For you. That's the beauty of it, Daniel. We don't have to be perfect. Just honest and present." She paused, searching for something to light a spark within him. "Remember, it's not about being enough. It's about showing up and trying." Slowly, he nodded, as if her words were sinking in, and it gave her a little more courage. She gestured toward the kids, who were already dipping their makeshift brushes into a puddle of paint and gleefully splattering color everywhere. "Come on, let us just dive in." As they reached the chaotic canvas of grass and paint, laughter erupted around them. Lily handed Daniel a stick caked with vibrant blue and shouted, "This one's for the sky." Sarah bent down, mixing colors with her fingers and guiding Jessie on how to blend. "See, Daniel?" she chirped, glancing back at him. "Look how happy they are. Just being. No walls, no fear." After a few moments, he leaned down and captured a splash of color on his stick. It was tentative at first, cautious like he was testing the waters. But the longer he stood there, surrounded by their carefree innocence, the more the tension eased from his frame. As Daniel started to paint, adding strokes to the canvas of their day, Sarah felt that spark in him grow. He laughed for the first time, louder than the children, the sound echoing through the park. It was a lovely chaos of colors and unfiltered joy. "Hey, look! It's beautiful!" Lily exclaimed as she stepped back to admire their work, her eyes shining bright. It certainly looked like a messy rainbow, but it felt like something more. It felt like freedom. But as they celebrated their creative mess, Sarah's thoughts drifted back to her own scars. The moments of doubt that still occasionally flared in her chest. She had spent years avoiding them. Would showing Daniel her vulnerabilities make him turn away? Would he, like others before, walk away from the messiness of reality? "Everything okay?" Daniel's voice pulled her back, concern flickering across his features. "Yes," she said, forcing a smile that felt halfway real. "Just thinking." "About what?" "About how important it is to be real with each other. Not just with the kids, but with ourselves too." He squinted at her, processing her words carefully. "You're right. I guess this is part of what we're building, right? Trust." "Exactly." She nodded, wishing the warmth between them would prevent shadows from creeping back in. But as they continued to paint, laughter swirling around them, there was an unease beginning to brew in the pit of her stomach. What would happen when the laughter faded? When real conversation stirred the pot of old griefs and insecurities? "Let us add some stars to this sky," Jessie shouted, oblivious to the older struggles. "Right behind you," Daniel called, his enthusiasm roaring back. Sarah watched, amazed by how easily Daniel slipped back into the carefree joy of childhood. Maybe they could do this together after all. But in that glimmer of hope, uncertainty still clung. How would they face the darkness waiting on the other side of this light? The sun dipped low, casting a warm glow over their colorful chaos. And Sarah felt something pulse between them, an undeniable connection, a thread woven tightly. Amid beautiful chaos. Still, she couldn't shake off the looming question, could this really last? When the final brush strokes were painted, they stood back to admire their work together. And just before she could celebrate, Jessie took a breath and said, "Can we paint the sky every day?" Behind him, Sarah caught Daniel's gaze. Would they make it through together? Or was their bliss just a temporary escape from the shadows? As twilight approached, she felt the answers lingering close, almost whispering in her ear, promising but never revealing. What truths were waiting just beneath the surface? As twilight settled over the park, Sarah felt a mixture of exhilaration and trepidation. They had painted their sky, but she sensed darker clouds lingering just at the edges of their happiness. The canvas of colors that sprawled before them was vibrant, yet it carried the weight of unspoken truths, weaving a tapestry of joy and vulnerability that felt both beautiful and fragile. "Can we paint the sky every day?" Jessie's innocent question hung in the air, a spark igniting hope. Sarah glanced at Daniel. His brow furrowed slightly, but a flickering smile betrayed a warmth that melted some of the tension between them. "Why not?" he said, his voice lightening. "Every day is a new opportunity." "Yeah. Let us make it a tradition." Jessie jumped with excitement, his boundless enthusiasm infectious, wrapping around them like a comforting blanket. As they celebrated this newfound unity, Sarah's heart raced with the promise of more moments to come, but uncertainty still hovered like mist in the early morning. "But traditions need commitment," she murmured, feeling the weight of her own words. Daniel's eyes locked onto hers. "That's true," he replied slowly. "But I want to be here, Sarah. With you, with Jessie." The sincerity in his voice stirred something deep within her, a mix of yearning and apprehension. "But are you ready for it? For everything that comes with me, with us?" "Yes." His answer was immediate and full of conviction, a refreshing gust that blew away some lingering doubts. No more hiding. As they lingered in the fragile space between trust and uncertainty, joy erupted around them again. Lily tugged at Daniel's hand. "Let us dance in the paint." In a moment of pure sweetness, their laughter burst forth. As the children twirled and spun, paint mingled and splattered, creating joyous patterns on the grass. Sarah closed her eyes, allowing that laughter to wrap around her heart, reminding her of happier memories with her daughter before all the chaos began. But as the kids danced, her mind drifted inward. Each twirl brought echoes of her past, reminders of both mistakes and lessons learned. How unpredictably lovely life could be, woven together by light and shadow. Hours later, as the park began to quiet, Daniel turned to her, his expression softening. "I've lived too long in darkness. It's hard to let in the light." "We start slow," Sarah replied gently. "We lean on each other. Together." His gaze lifted, sparkling with a mix of fear and excitement. "You make it sound so simple." "It is simple," she said, wishing to convey the truth nestled in vulnerability. "But it's the journey that holds the weight. We'll sweep each other up when the shadows creep in." As stars began to sprinkle the night sky, silence enveloped them, interlaced with the gentle rustling of leaves. The weight of everything they had faced together loomed in the stillness. Would every shared laugh weave them tighter, while every old pain loosened its grip? "I want to make sure Jessie is happy." Daniel's voice broke the quiet, revealing an earnestness that made Sarah's heart swell. "Yes, happy is what we want. But we have to allow ourselves a space for the not-so-happy moments too," she reminded him, hoping he would grasp the magnitude of this journey they were about to undertake. Daniel nodded solemnly, a flicker of remorse flashing in his eyes. "I can't change the past, but I want to create a future. That's where it starts." Before she could say anything else, her daughter approached. "Mom, can we do this again tomorrow?" Hope danced in her eyes, and Sarah felt the intensity of that moment wash over her, a beautiful ripple born from all the struggles they had faced and were still facing. "Absolutely," Sarah replied, her heart full. "We'll paint the skies and fill them with laughter, hope, and honesty." And with that promise, Sarah could feel the connection solidifying, a bond forged in moments of joy, brimming with trust, ready to weather whatever future storms they would face together. In the days that followed, the warmth of each painting session rekindled something within both Sarah and Daniel. Each brushstroke felt like a step toward healing, a burst of color that made them feel vibrant. Their conversations deepened, shedding layers of truth that had long been buried in shadows. They began to rediscover the beauty of simply being honest and human, scared, vulnerable, yet undeniably strong. Jessie and Lily brought lightness, and the children's laughter became the drumbeat of their new reality, a reminder that joy is easy when surrounded by love. Each twilight brought challenges and conversations about hardships, but also trust and growth. With each discussion, they laid foundations, their fears more manageable as they spoke across the expanse of their shared experiences. As summer waned and autumn began to paint the world in brilliant hues, Sarah felt the transformation burgeoning within her. She wasn't just reclaiming her life. She was reshaping her family, redefining what home meant. And in doing so, she and Daniel were weaving lives and stories together, stepping into the unknown, enlivened by hope. But Sarah also knew the road ahead could still be rocky. Could the son truly embrace their new togetherness? Would the past cling to them during tough times? Those answers remained cloaked in uncertainty, but together, filled with the promise of new beginnings, they would rise. And with that familiarity of joy, Sarah felt a new light shining in her life, brighter than she had ever dared to hope. This was their moment to paint a future, a canvas brimming with laughter, colors, and the unshakable bonds of love. As she looked toward tomorrow, Sarah felt an overwhelming sense of belonging, knowing they were ready to embrace the journey together, whatever the shadows or joys would bring. So subscribe to this channel immediately to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your support means everything. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Remember, this is the moment to show your support, so don't wait not even one more second.